Okay, so good evening. Like every week, Markish this class in Ishmat here. Then Hashem Kodemo Noal Charet Tzal that fell, and that's a safe return of all the hostages. And Charet Tzal. Mekavod Gidon. We read about Gidon not too long ago. He was very. God sent out Tzlachan. With his small army defeated their enemies. But Hashem will defeat their enemies. Okay, we're in the middle of the most horrific stories in Tanakh. So last time we saw the introduction to Pidegish Begiva, which Isi Ashara be'Navi Yaseh, be'Emen En Melech B'Yisrael, that not only does not having a king is a bad Ben Adam Lamakom, like we saw with Pesach Micha, that it makes statues and Mikdashim to idols and everyone's okay with it. It's also very bad Ben Adam Lechavero. And with if you had Avazazah, we're going to have Gidu Erot and Shfichut Damim. The story we did previously, we saw about the person from Shevet Ephraim that marries someone from Bethlehem. She gets him angry, or he gets her angry. It's not very clear. Is it the translation, or that she just left him and went home to her father's house? He comes to bring her home, and then our story begins. So he comes to the father's house, appeases him. We talked about the status of Pilegesh, that it's a wife without rights. I mean, they're allowed to be together, but he doesn't have any monetary obligations to her if they separate. He's only obligated to her while they're married, and she's at his whim. In any event, he convinces her to come home, and everyone's very happy. Her father-in-law is very excited. His father-in-law, her father, very excited that she's going home. And he says, why leave? It's a long day ride. Stay for supper. So he stays for supper. Then he says, too late to leave now. We can says, stay for the night. So they do it. Morning, same story repeats itself. That they stay, come, have lunch, have supper. Eventually, they're already on the fourth day there, and she agrees. Fifth day, then all leave. It's not going to happen. Just has to leave. It's always going to be bad timing. So again, stay too late. This time he says, I've been here 5 days. That's enough. Nearby, in a city called Binyamin. So, afraid of Jews that go to this nice Jewish town. They enter the Jewish town. Now, from a mirror story, and meaning a similar story. It's not similar in the context, but it's phrased in similar ways in order to remind us of how the Tanakh is. Sweet outsider living among Shevet Binyamin, and he invites them home. He says, please come here. He gives them not only for them food, he gives them, says, listen, we don't need anything from you. We have food for animals, we have food for ourselves, just a place to sleep. And he says, I give you everything you need, just don't sleep in the street. Chas v'chayah. He brings him home and gives them food for his animals and washes their feet, and they eat and they drink. And then people and people of Sodom, the people of Giv'ah, they are pounding on the house. And similar to another similarity, what's doing this story? Right? He offers his daughter. The old man says, please don't do anything to my guest, right? I'm willing to don't do anything to my guest. I'm willing to give you my daughter and his pileg. How about them? You do them, you rape them, do and the people don't listen. They say, and the guy, the man, grabs his own pileg, throws her out the door, and closes the door. Meaning, the old man offers to hand over the daughter, and his daughter and the pilegesh. They refuse. They want the guest. But the man says, take the dog. It takes his pilegesh, throws her out the door, closes it, and they're distracted by that, and they rape her and torture her all night. In the morning, they let her go. She gets to the entrance of the door. They open the door, and hands to the door, trying to open it, and he tells her, "Okay, get up, time to go. Get up, time to go." No, I'm so sorry. No, how are you doing? None of that. The man is very cold. Come on, get up, let's go. And she doesn't respond. Come on, I said, get up, let's go. Then he notices that she's dead. They raped her, and she died from her injuries. And then he goes home, puts her body on the donkey, and goes home. Until now, this was very similar to Sodom, hinting that this act is like Sodom v'Amorah. It's horrible, rape and murder. But also, no one's a good person here. Maybe the older man invites him over. Even if he's willing to hand over his own daughter to save them, that's okay. And the man that throws his pilegesh, he knows she's going to be raped. In the morning, he doesn't even check how she's doing, doesn't check how she's doing all night, he's not worried about her. Just screams at her, get up, time to go. We thought it was bad enough, it gets worse. Now he does something that we're going to see later on in Tanakh, and in different, to understand its context, you have to know what you have to see later on in Tanakh. This is something horrific. He takes a macheret, a big knife, hacking knife, and chops her into 12 pieces, and sends a piece of her body to each tribe, and tell her what's the story. Right? This is what happened, and this is what's left of my pilegesh. Later in Tanakh, I remember a similar story where someone chops something up and sends all the tribes. Shaul, when he becomes king, and Shamuni lays siege to Anshe Yavesh Gilad. These are important names to remember to also this story. Anshe Yavesh Gilad and Shevet Binyamin are going to be entwined because of these stories. So Anshe Yavesh Gilad are in trouble because they're being attacked by Nachash from the Ammon. And Shaul is just now he is sent to save, they ask him to please, and to save him, what he does is he takes a cow, chomps it into 12 pieces, and says, whoever doesn't come to rescue, I'll chop up his sheep, his flock, just like. Now, that's an important story to understand what's happening here, because what Shaul is doing, he's reminding them of, remember we chopped up pieces, and that was a call, the pieces of meat you got was a call for everybody has to come. Shaul does the same thing, not with the human body, he does it with an animal. They hear the story. Nevela nesta b'Yisrael. Nevela nesta b'Yisrael is a phrase used by Bnei Yaakov. They hear that their sister was raped, and the lo nesek the Nevela b'Yisrael. Yetziat Mitzrayim until now. We have to get together and what to do. And all Bnei Yisrael get together in one place from Dan to Beersheba, from the north to the south. This is the first time Am Yisrael are getting together from a time of Yeshua, where they get together for war. Until now was every tribe, all seven Shoftim was every tribe for themselves, or two tribes get together for battle. All the tribes get together, 400,000 people show up. So that's a lot of soldiers. 400. Even this used to be 70,000 soldiers. 400,000 soldiers show up. Small a bit. And they want justice from Giv'ah. The people of Binyamin hear that all the other tribes are going against them, and they say, what's the story? And they say, Representative Isha Levi, guy Isha Levi, representative Shevet Levi, he making negotiations, and he says, he tells a story, Isha Levi, and I brought you all here. Now we have to decide what to do. So they sit together and say, we're going to take representatives for 10% of every tribe to prepare for war against the Anshe Giv'ah. And that's what they do. They agree to that. Kol Yisrael Chaverim, right? So it says, "V'yasef kol Yisrael el ha'ir ki'ish echad chaverim," and there's tremendous unity in the nation. It didn't exist for decades, but what's the unity above? Tragedy bringing them together. But unfortunately, tragedy is unity towards Milchemet Achim. They're going on a late. How do I know this? Because they in Pasuk Yud Gimel, Perek Pasuk Gimel, they say their terms: Tnu et hanashim b'nei bli'ah asher b'bli'ah v'nemitem v'nevera ra'am Yisrael. Hand over the criminals, hand over the rapists. That's it. By the way, World War I broke out very similar reasons to this war. Why? Bus B'nai Binyamin's response. They Benjamin get their army together. They have together 26,000 swordsmen, another 700 that's what part of why World War I broke out. The Austro-Hungarian minister was shot dead by a group of terrorists, and and the argument was, who will judge the terrorists? They said, we'll do our own, they wanted their own investigation, Austria-Hungary, own investigation. We judge him, we do the investigation, we'll convict him, we'll punish him. They said, no, we want the investigation. It's our country, the crime is committed in our country, we'll commit the investigation, we'll judge him in our courts, and we'll sentence him. There was no argument, should he be arrested? There was no argument, should be punished. The argument was, who should do the investigation? Austria-Hungary was an empire, and they said, forget this. If you don't do this, if you don't follow all our terms, it's reason for war. And that led to a escapade that, because they're afraid war will break out. People are afraid war will break out, so they attacked France. Germany attacked France first in order to preemptive. What do they tell those? Man? You're not a judge. You have no authority here to judge us. And so again, they say, you don't have authority to judge us. We we judge our own people by our standards. You can, you think our judge, you can decide. That's what they say, and Shoftim tell the Bnei Yisrael. You're outsiders, you don't judge us. So this means war. And the first civil war, so we had Gilui Arayot, Shfichut Damim, I can get civil war. And the level of chant, and also philosophical speaking, or theologically speaking. It's Meisel Shev Binyamin. What they do is before they go to war, they do what you're supposed to do. They ask the Urim V'Tumim. Should we go to war? Look in Pasuk Yudchet, in fact, Pasuk Yudchet. Ve'kumu ve'alu Bet El. They go to Bet El. Ve'ishalu be'Elohim. And the have Mishkan. All these years we have Mishkan. Mishkan is active. It's moved from place to place, but the Mishkan is active. You have Adoni, you have my daughter has Bagun Tanakh coming up, and this dawns on her. The Beit HaMikdash for around for almost 1,000 years. I'm like, yeah. And then we have Mishkan before and for another 400 years before. So it's 1,200 years of Jewish history that we had an active Beit HaMikdash and Kol. Like, yeah. Now we have 2,000 years without it. That seems to us the norm. But from beginning of Jewish history for 1,200 years, we had a form of a Mishkan. Not only signs off on this bell, says how to fight it. That goes first.
It doesn't say who's going to win. It just says that you should go first.
Go exactly.
ויקומו
בני סוכר ויחנו על הגבעה ויצאו מלחמה, and they approach them, and they wage war. They should be 7 Binyamin surprise attack and killed 22,000 from Israel, and Israel loses the first battle. Battle number two, they say, okay, don't give up, right? Things happen, and next day they try the exact same strategy. And this time, before they're praying, they go to Beit El and they're praying to Hashem all night. But now they lost the war. They say, wait a minute, if we lost the war, maybe that's a sign from God that we shouldn't be doing it. They thought it was a no-brainer that they should do the war. And the question was the strategy. When they lose, they see it as a sign from God. We should be fighting maybe a civil war. God doesn't want a civil war. By the way, sometimes God intervenes and prevents civil war. When does God intervene to prevent civil war? Tanakh. There's only, as soon as Melech Israel is founded by Yerovam wants a civil war. Okay, civil war to take place. They go to battle again, and second day, same battle, and they lose again. This time, 18,000 people die. People go to Beit El again. The third time, they're crying. Third time, go to Beit El. First time, who should go first? Second time, should we continue the war? Third time, they're just crying and praying and fasting, and they sacrifice korbanot, and they ask God, and the but what's with the Urim to me? Lose, go to the war and they lose.
They asked the wrong question.
So first of all, this many commentaries since the Gemara goes in that direction. That when you ask and you have the you only get an answer to what you ask. It's not a question. You don't answer. There's no elaboration. Let me elaborate. And so they asked, who should go first? They're done. They asked, does God want the war to take place? The answer is yes, God wants this war to take place. They asked a second time, they sort of so should we stop the war? Then God said, no, don't stop the war, continue, right? The problem with that is because that explanation is going that direction. The direction we continue to go to war, and then God said you would win. There are the net. In order to answer why this happened, you have to text a story, which gives us another sipur maka, another mirror story. And what's the mirror story? I'll tell you the story how they defeat Binyamin. Oh, time's up. So I'll say outside. We'll see it next week. The next defeat is they put Ovim behind the city, draw Binyamin out of the city, cut them off, burn the city, and close off from two directions, defeating them. What battle is that? Hai. They pull him at Ai. Ai also lost the first times, eventually leading to a big victory. Remember the story in Ai? What? How they turned a victory into a loss into a victory?
Divided them up, right?
They lost the first battle. If they reframe it, the reason they won a complete victory is by losing the first time. They were able to. That's what lured them out of the city, because they were confident that they were going to win. So defeating Shev Binyamin, it could be yes. Defeating Shev Binyamin is that difficult. The only way to defeat Shev Binyamin is by victorious twice, because only then we're confident to leave a fortified city when there are hundreds of thousands of people versus only a few thousand. Who has the guts to do that? If you won one battle, you won another battle, you feel self-confidence, you know you're out, and that's how they're going to be defeated. So it could be that this was God's plan. First to win the third. Why can't we say win one battle, God will make them do a miracle and they win? That's a different question. But units, good example. They had fake landing sites. And what you do is you put sites with a few soldiers. They don't have a chance, right? If they're going to be overwhelmed. But then the army is, you trap the enemy, okay? So if you want a soldier, you put in a post. What's your job? I'm bait. You have no. If the enemy comes, you have no chance. So I'm bait. Yes, you're bait, and they're not. That's the decision of a king. Essentially, we got here. Tough. That's one direction we're going to offer Bezat Hashem next week. Another direction. That's all. So.